All right, everyone, let's talk beta changes for week 2 of the Midnight Beta. Um, I'll just start by kind of reading them off, and then we can kind of talk about what this means for us and kind of, what this means, especially for Mythic Plus testing and raid testing. Raid testing is happening today, and then Mythic Plus testing is going on since yesterday until I think early December. So, Annihilator got some changes. They got a new choice node with the talent, and I'll pull it up here. Um, so Annihilator got a new choice node with Doomsayer activating Ren'dorei out of combat or within 10 seconds of entering combat calls down 3 Voidfall meteors over its duration. That's the original talent. It also was originally 5 seconds. 10 seconds is a lot more manageable because sometimes you just wouldn't get it. And I think Voidfall meteor damage increases just for people to use if they don't like the 10 seconds thing, or they just can't get to Void Beam in that time, or Void Ray in that time. This is pretty harmless, I would say. I don't know the exact tuning on this or what's better, especially since it's beta. Just play whatever you prefer. Final Hour has been updated, now causes Voidfall bonuses to linger for 8 seconds plus 12 seconds. This is just a nerf. Fixed an issue causing all Voidfall meteors to benefit from World Killer's radius increase. Sure. Doomsayer has been updated. Buff is now removed after 10 seconds during combat. Yep, we already saw that. Voidfall meteor damage reduced by 50%. This does not surprise me. Annihilator and World now they generate 1 soul fragment was 2, and they weren't dealing appropriately increased damage and not creating soul fragments. Yeah. So Annihilator in general was just vastly outperforming Voidsguard. I'm not going to comment on if it was overperforming because I don't know the numbers for the other classes. And then for Voidsguard, just a little Student of Suffering nerf. And then we have a dev note. Devourer is still overperforming by a wide margin, so we're tamping down Annihilator's power while also reducing the damage of their core spells. We are intentionally not reducing the Hunt's power to help its power relative to the rest of the Devourer kit. The issue with the Hunt is not its power necessarily; it's that it doesn't do anything. But I talked about that in my last video, and we still aren't seeing any changes to that. Hopefully, we do in the future, but for now, I'm just expecting tuning at this point. Eradicate. The big thing to take from this is that Eradicate has basically been fixed. If you're in the Fellhammer Discord server at all, you'll just see the big note of Eradicate now works with basically every damage amp, which it wasn't before. It's still not a great button in single target, but it's still used in Mythic Plus and AoE. Entropy is an update and now forces your soul fragments to 25 when a raid encounter begins. This was just because if you started a raid encounter as Devourer with Entropy, it just would force your soul fragments to 0. So Entropy was basically useless. So this now makes Entropy actually do what it's supposed to do. Our Mastery got nerfed a little bit. It kind of sucks. Like, Haste and Mastery were basically even. I understand this is a tuning knob, but also at the same time, I'm like, Crit and Verse already aren't that good to begin with. So you're just reinforcing like major amounts of haste stacking, and mainly haste stacking. Like there's certain crafted pieces that maybe it has a cool embellishment, but I just will never use it because it's like Verse Mastery or something, and it just needs to have haste on it. Then we got Void Ray damage reduced by 25%, Reap damage reduced by 25%, Collapsing Star damage reduced by 25%, Void Blade damage reduced by 25%, Hungering Slash damage reduced by 25%, and Void Step damage reduced by 25%. And I think the first question is, okay, like, we got nerfed by 25% across the board. If Blizzard thinks we're overperforming, that's just how it is. And the the main thing to take away from this is that, especially, consume has not been nerfed. And the problem with that is if you are playing an Annihilator build, specifically, the issue is that consume is now like an extremely high amount of your damage. I'll put up the graphic, but I think it's something like 40% or something in Annihilator single target. I'm sure it's a pretty high number for Void Scar still, but it's not going to be as high because Void Scar doesn't have the damage increase on consume like Annihilator does. And it's just it's. I guess my point is that it's interesting that these are the changes we're making because, like, I understand nerfing everything 25% because then we're basically at the same point, but we're nerfing Reap by 25%, which we already have established is not a good button to press. They could have just left Reap as it is, and we would have been fantastic. But no, we're nerfing Reap. We're leaving Devour and Consume. But otherwise, that's really all the changes. As for Mythic Plus builds, I would just say to refer to my written guide for now. I'm messing with a bunch of builds. There's a new Fellscar or a Void Scar build I might try. And then I'm going to be doing raid testing today as well. So I'll be able to provide a little bit more perspective on like builds and things like that as kind of time goes on. But for now, that's really all the Devourer changes. Annihilator got worse. I guess I don't want to say worse. It's getting balanced. Please test these things. Our spec becomes better if we test these things, so it's important to do. But for now, I think that's it. So I'll probably be streaming later today, but I will see you there.